Hello, my name is Jonathan Jones. I am Vice Chair of Skills and Volunteering Cymru, also known as SVC. And welcome to SVC's Spotlight on Various Careers. Throughout the week, we've had presentations from our partner organisations explaining their career path and how they've become involved in volunteering. There have been a couple of presentations just specific to the subject area of the presenter. Today's speaker, Adrienne Earls, who is the SVC Manager of Skills and Volunteering Cymru, SVC. This is pre-recorded talk. If you have any questions, please post them in the chat and I will try and answer them to the best of my ability. Failing that, we'll send a message to Ad and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Hi, my name's Adrienne. Most people call me Ad. I've been asked to speak today about my current role and a little bit about how volunteering has helped me personally. So my current role is the manager of SVC, Skills and Volunteering Cymru. It was two of our board members that put together this digital careers event this week. We're hoping that you'll enjoy hearing from lots of different speakers. But I was approached at a board meeting if I would consider saying a few words, just to let people know a little bit more about my role and how I got here. So I've worked at SVC for almost 10 years, and I've seen an awful lot of changes in the organisation while I've been here. In essence, my role is a charity manager. So lots of people think that it's me that has overall control of SVC, and that's not in fact correct. It is the Board of Trustees that oversee the governance and structure of SVC's charity. I work very closely with the Board of Trustees and I try and offer them support and advice, and I go and research things when we need more help, and I go and speak to experts in areas that we don't know about, and then I feed that information back to the board. But it's actually the board that make the decisions. I don't have a vote on the board. They are the people that get to structure the charity and choose the direction of the charity. That's then filtered through to me, and my role is to support the staff team with their roles. I look after the funds for SVC, so I make sure that our books balance and that the right budget lines have the right amount of money in them. I make sure that if we've got any projects that look like they could do with some more financial support, I research funding bids, I write funding bids, I also support staff members to write their funding bids. As I said, I work very closely with the board. I deal with all of the auditing side of the charity, a lot of report writing, making sure that our information is passed on to the Charity Commission in good time so that when they audit us, all the information is there and ready. I also get to meet lots of our partners and work with our partners on developing the different projects that we have established or are looking to establish. And I also get to meet our wonderful beneficiaries and volunteers. I don't get to have as much time with volunteers and beneficiaries as I would like to, but when I do get to go to events or go to projects and visit, it's probably my favourite part of the job. So yeah, in a nutshell, that is what I do. I've been asked to explain a little bit about how I got into being a charity manager. So my degree was initially in psychology, but I loved it and I very much was set on doing clinical psychology. This is back in the early 2003, that's when I was at university. And the more I kind of looked at it, the more I realised how competitive clinical psychology was. That there weren't as many opportunities as there were people. I hadn't done as much as I probably should have done in that time. with regards to doing extracurricular activities alongside my degree. So I completed university with a 2-1, and whilst I was at university, I was doing data entry and market research at a local company in Cardiff. And when I finished my degree, I started working there full time. And I did that probably for about a year, and realised that it really wasn't for me. So I then moved back to Scotland, and I started working in marketing and researching different products, and then looking at how to market and promote different products, particularly within IT. I did that for about 18 months, and also realised that that wasn't for me. And then I decided to go travelling. So I went travelling for about a year around South America, and it was brilliant. And then I came back and I had this enormous feeling of a lot of my friends by this point had been in their careers for 3, 4, 5 years, who'd graduated around the same time as me, give and take, depending on what degrees they'd done. And I was starting to be a little bit left behind, if I'm honest, and thinking, oh dear, I still don't really know what I want to do. I'd always volunteered when I was younger. I was on the youth parish council in the village that I lived in, so helping with community initiatives. And I also did other types of volunteering, more kind of mentoring and supporting younger children when I was younger. So I decided that I would like to do something that helped people, but I wasn't quite sure what. So I started looking at different types of volunteering that were available when I came back from travelling. And I applied to volunteer with a charity. This was in Scotland, because that's where I'm from originally, which supported all different beneficiary groups to have a voice. So they independently advocated on behalf of different people who, for whatever reason, were struggling to advocate on their own behalf. And the types of people that I supported were people who were experiencing mental health conditions, people with a diagnosis of Alzheimer's, and people with learning disabilities. So I would go and they would have specific issues that they were facing or challenges they were facing. And I would go and read all their notes. I would spend time with them and look at what they wanted. And then I would try and support them to make the right phone calls, complete the right application forms, speak to the right people. And I loved it. It gave me an enormous sense of reward. And it made me think, yeah, this is the sort of thing I'd really like to do. And it was only probably at that point that I became properly aware of the third sector and what opportunities were in the third sector. So I decided to apply for lots of jobs all across the UK, and several of them were in research, several of them were in the third sector, and I was fortunate enough to get an opportunity in Cardiff for Innovate Trust, who are SVC's sister charity, working in their supported employment agency. So that was like an employment agency, but we specifically helped people who had health conditions. So a lot of the contracts that we had were to support individuals with learning disabilities or mental health conditions. We also supported people who had physical conditions. Maybe they were suffering with bad back problems and had been out of work for a long time because of that. So I worked for 5 years on a DWP contract, Department of Work and Pensions contract, with the job centres in the Vale of Glamorgan. That was my patch, trying to support different people from the ages of 18 up to late 60s to get back into employment. And for most people, the place I started with was trying to get them some experience through volunteering and build their confidence, build their skills, build their CV, and then look at trying to build their path into paid employment. It was a really busy job, but I absolutely loved it. I got lots of opportunity to work with lots of different people, lots of different companies, because depending on the area of interest for the clients that I was working with, if they were interested in retail, I'd then go and try and build rapport with different retail shops, for example, to see if they would consider taking on someone to do unpaid work experience. But all different sorts of things. Like I had people that were interested in archiving, so I did organise several different placements at the Morgan Archive Centre. I had people that were really interested in getting involved in the third sector, so we got some volunteer opportunities. Local housing associations, for example, TAF Housing did some for us. So it was all different sorts of things: construction, hairdressing, design, to people that wanted to do design work, but all different things. And then after 5 years, and lots of success on that project of getting people back into work and building up people's confidence. But as I said, generally through volunteering to start with, the government changed, and unfortunately the funding for these types of projects was all completely changed. So I was then looking at being made redundant. I was considering going to work for a company that was doing a very similar thing, but on a new contract that had been organised by that particular new government. And just while I was in negotiations with this other organisation, I had that opportunity at SVC. So the current manager that had been at SVC for a good 10, 11 years, I'd met her a few times through third sector work, was looking at retiring. And Nick French, who is the CEO of Innovate Trust, had a conversation with me and said, do you think this is something that you might be interested in? So we talked through it. I had an interview with Nick and Andrea, who was my predecessor at SVC. And then later on, I had to have an interview with the Board of Trustees. The Board of Trustees at that time had about 8 graduates or undergraduates on board. And that was probably the most frightening interview I've ever had, even though it was relaxed and informal in many ways. Most of the people that were interviewing me were much younger than me. I think, A, the sheer volume of people, but B, also because I realised how much I wanted the job and I wanted to make a good job of it. So fortunately, it all went well, and I was offered the job, as I said, almost 10 years ago. If someone had said to me whilst I was doing my psychology degree, actually what you'll end up doing is several jobs that were fine but weren't for you, and then you'll get involved in the third sector, and then you'll end up overseeing a small charity, I probably wouldn't have believed them. I wouldn't have believed them because I wouldn't have necessarily thought that a psychology degree could link you into these types of roles. And also at that point, I probably wouldn't have thought that I'd have the confidence or the skills needed to do these types of roles. So that's kind of a little bit about my journey. I asked some of the students and volunteers to put together any questions that they'd like me to answer, because unfortunately due to childcare I'm not able to do this live, so we're always going to pretend that people are asking me. So one of the questions was, have I got any advice to people wanting to get into my field? Where can they learn the skills or get experience if they're just starting out or they're looking to change career? I've said it a few times already in my talk. volunteering, and I'm not saying it because I work for a volunteering charity. I'm saying it because I genuinely believe that volunteering can be so beneficial for so many people on so many different levels. Volunteering is exceptionally beneficial to the beneficiaries that we support, and that's why most people volunteer, is because they want to give something back. They want to try and help people. But there is also the other side of it, where you learn new skills, you meet new people, you network with different people. Opportunities open up to you because you're in different situations, meeting different people. It gives you an opportunity to have a taster of different things and see if you like it. You know, I personally, as I said, thought I wanted to go into clinical psychology. I did some shadowing work in clinical psychology and pretty quickly realised that that really wasn't an opportunity for me. Volunteering can also, I think, be really effective if you're someone who's looking to change careers. Lots of the people that I worked with in my previous role in a supported employment agency were people who were in their 40s, 50s, and even 60s, who, due to redundancy or due to marital breakdowns or due to mental health conditions, were in a position where they needed to look at a change of career. And that can be a really, really scary thing. You know, when I was in my mid-20s, I found it quite scary trying to move from marketing into the third sector. Never mind when you're maybe someone who's been doing a job for 15, 20, 25 years, and all of a sudden that job's not there anymore and you're wondering, do you try something completely different? For lots of people, they might be on benefits or be really anxious about how moving into a new career could affect them financially if it isn't the right choice or it isn't the right move. And I think volunteering can give you an opportunity to, as I say, try out different things, experience different things, meet different people, build your confidence for that next chapter. So yeah, I'm not just promoting volunteering because of my job. I believe that volunteering helped me get my job. It opened my eyes to what different opportunities were available. But I also think it can help people in so many ways. Volunteering is a two-way street. So the next question is, what are the top 3 skills that you learned from volunteering? The first one I would say is the ability to put yourself out of your comfort zone. I remember how anxious I was going and undertaking some of the advocacy work where I previously volunteered. But because it wasn't for me and it was for someone else, and I genuinely believed that the individual that I was supporting should have a voice and should have the options that are available to other people. Maybe where I would have previously shied away, I forced myself to do things out of my comfort zone because I wanted to help the beneficiaries. And actually, what then happened was it grew me as an individual. So I think for me, I would say it pushed me out of my comfort zones. It helped me to gain confidence. And it helped me to gain skills that I hadn't at that point yet acquired. I think there is absolutely a time and place for education and university, and if that's the right path for an individual, then that's great. But I also think that life experience and being in different environments and meeting different people is very, very important. And it teaches you things that you just can't learn from a textbook or an excellent lecturer. So yeah, those would be the 3 main things that I think I've benefited from volunteering. The next question is, what are the major components of your job on a daily basis? I think I've probably spoken in some depth about that already, but yeah, I keep up to date with the Charity Commission. So the Charity Commission is what audits the third sector organisations in the UK. They want to make sure that charities are working for the benefit of the public and that we are not for profit, so that people are using funding effectively and as they should be. So I keep up with a lot of their information, changing a lot of our policies and procedures. I review all of our policies and procedures every year, and then I make suggestions to the board, and quite often the board will make suggestions to me. Many of our trustees come from different walks of life, so they're able to offer me knowledge and wisdom in different areas that I've never worked in, which is exceedingly helpful. I spend a lot of time with the trustees, so we meet fortnightly. The only month we had off was August, so we do see a lot of each other. That's quite unusual. Most trustee boards tend to meet quarterly. I would say our trustee board is much more of a working board, and by that I mean that the trustees don't just turn up to meetings and discuss things and come up with ideas. They're then very often involved in implementing those ideas. Many of them have been with us for many years, and that's quite a nice range and mixture of people on our board. We've got some newer trustees who are either undergrads or postgrads from the local universities. And then we've also got some trustees who've been with us, as I said, for 9-10 years, who maybe were students when they first started with us and have since graduated and are well into their careers, but have remained with us. And as I said, have then brought the knowledge with them of their career paths and where they've gone. So I do a lot of that. I do a lot of finances and funding, overseeing the staff team at SVC. I'm very lucky. I work with a team of 5 other individuals who share my values and my morals and my vision. I'm very lucky that I genuinely love my job and I love the people I work with, which makes it very well. I'm just very blessed. So I get to spend a lot of time with them, helping them to grow their projects, talking to them about stumbling blocks or barriers that we might face on the different projects and the best ways to try and combat that. Training, I don't get to do so much of the training or the visiting the actual projects anymore. But as I said before, I love it when I get to do it. It's just, unfortunately, that's not really my paid job. We've got a wonderful staff team who get to do that stuff. Mine is more the sort of overseeing and being accountable for the charity and making sure that we've got enough funds to keep running, keep operating, keep developing, keep researching where new need is in the community, developing new partnerships, trying to build new projects where appropriate, and helping SVC to continue to develop and grow, all in line with our constitution and the way that people who really are invested in the charity and have set it up and have supported it intended it to be. Just going to refer to my question list, bear with me. What do you enjoy most about your job? I find that quite hard because I genuinely love so much about my job, and I'm very aware now that I'm almost 40. I know how unusual that is. I love that I get to meet so many different people. I love that I get to see so many of the good things that happen in the local community. I get to work with people who are genuinely very interested and share the same views as me, and are interested in making a real difference to the community and supporting people, making a change. And I get to work with them as my staff team, I get to work with them as the board of trustees, and I get to meet them as the volunteers who make SVC tick. And then I also get to meet lots of incredible beneficiaries and partners. So yeah, my favourite thing is probably chatting to everyone, because I do love to talk. But yeah, meeting different people, finding out about different things that are going on and seeing how SVC can help or work with people and slot in. So yeah, that's what I enjoy most. What made you stand out from the crowd when you applied for this current job? So my role at SVC, as I said, I was looking at being made redundant over at Innovate Trust, and this opportunity was available, and it was more being involved with the right people and speaking and working with the right contacts at the right time, if I'm completely honest, that helped me to apply for the job at the right time. Prior to that, though, I think all of the roles that I've ever had, I've been successful at those roles because I've been well prepared. And this is something that I would constantly say to the people that I used to work with through the Support and Employment Agency. So I'm a trained careers advisor as well. And I genuinely believe that preparatory is the best thing that you can probably do when you're going for a job interview. Look at the company, really research the organisation, research what makes them tick, find out about their mission, find out about their structure, their history, take an interest, show that you genuinely care about that organisation. When you're writing an application form, really spend time writing that application form. You know, I've had so many applications over the years for roles at SVC from volunteers at SVC. And I know that these people are exceptional people, but when it comes to writing an application form, because they know that I know them, they've written very, very little, presuming, well, you know, Ad knows that I've done X, Y, and Z, so I'm just going to write 1 or 2 lines. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. We have scoring cards and we score everyone fairly and everyone in the same manner. And we can't allow ourselves to be biased in any way. Like now, I wouldn't even see people's names, any personal information. The only way I'd be able to tell if it's someone new is if they gave examples in their questions about things that they've done at SVC. For example, I was a lead volunteer on the Huggard Homeless Project in 2014 to 2015. Then I'm going to know. But I would say, you know, please don't presume that people know you and that will be enough, because unfortunately it isn't. You know, everything is scored, everything, as I said, is without prejudice. So really spend time answering your questions, really think about examples to back up those questions. And if you're not sure about questions, phone the organisation, speak to whoever is the contact on the form. You know, sometimes it'll be HR, sometimes it might actually be the manager that'll be overseeing you. Speak to them, start that rapport, start that dialogue, ask them about different questions if you're uncertain about things. Always, you know, if you can, try and turn up on time, try and turn up looking smart, looking interested. If there's a presentation, really practice your presentation because it does show. I think it's always nice if you're doing a presentation to give a handout to the panel, the interview panel. You know, I'll be honest, when you've done 2 days of interviews, 8 interviews a day, they all do start to merge into one. And even though you take copious amounts of notes, if someone can give you a handout of their PowerPoint presentation or their key, you know, views from their presentation, that helps, and it also shows that you've really thought about your audience, and that would then make me think, oh, so when they go out and they present, if they're working at SVC and they present to students or present to other organisations and partners, this is the sort of thing they would do. They'd be really organised, they'd be really prepared, they'd take information with them. It just sets a scene of your best self. So use that opportunity. But also, I'm sort of digressing here, but I do also believe that interviews are a two-way process, and that you should have some questions prepared for the interview panel. It doesn't have to be stacks, but really consider the things you'd like to know if you were going to work there. Things like, who's in the team? What does the team look like? Is there anything new and exciting that they're working on at this point? What sort of training is involved? Just things to, show that you're interested, but also things that you should want to know as someone going into a new role. So I think that's really important, but I also think it's really important because it gives you an opportunity to hear more from the panel, because sometimes interviews can feel a little bit one-sided, because as the interviewee, you end up doing the vast majority of the talking. And it's nice because it allows you to find out more about the people you might potentially be working with, find out more about that organisation. It gives you an opportunity to see if that's where you'd like to work. So yeah, I would say try and prepare as much as you can. Try to think of questions so that it's a two-way process. So for me, what made me stand out, I'm not sure anything particularly made me stand out. I think I was exceedingly well prepared, and I always try to ensure that I'm well prepared for interviews. Just going to go back to the questions. And then this is the last question. How has your organisation adapted to the current pandemic, and do you currently have any volunteering opportunities? So SVC has numerous volunteering opportunities available. If you have a little look at our website, which is svcamry.org, on there you can see all of our current vacancies. There's a filter on the left-hand side when you look at the screen, and you can pick sort of the different areas that interest you. So, for example, environmental, children and young people, mental health. And then it will do a little search for you and bring out information about the current availabilities that are within the areas you're interested. Because of the pandemic, we have had to amend and adapt. And I think we've done that pretty well. A lot of the people that we support are vulnerable, maybe because of health or because they live, we support young carers, they care for vulnerable people. So there's lots of people that we really had to be very careful with what we could or couldn't potentially do. We made the decision in March that we were going to stop all face-to-face volunteering, other than volunteers that were helping us deliver food parcels or medicine. Everything else face-to-face stopped, and we moved the vast majority into a digital alternative. So we have social clubs, we have karaoke club, we have quiz club, we have bingo, we have choir, we have online digital befriending with adults with disabilities, but also a different project which runs the same, digital befriending for children and young people. We do several social clubs, one for our young carers, so they might do things like a digital escape room together. We've got a social club for young people with Down syndrome, so they've had like dance sessions and all different types of fun stuff that we do. So there's lots of different opportunities like that. Then there's opportunities for people to maybe get involved and try and shape things a bit more. So we're currently looking at wellbeing sessions for adults with disabilities, so how you can maybe improve your health and look after yourself with things that are in your home. So we're looking for people to get involved with that, and if they've got an idea or a way that they could bring a session about wellbeing, then we'll support them to run it with them. We've got lots of opportunities coming up. Some are restricted opportunities, mainly due to vetting. Some are opportunities that are still in the pipeline, and we're working on the partnership agreement and the memorandum of understanding. So hopefully those projects should be advertised in the new year. But I would say the best thing to do if you're interested in volunteering for SVC is follow our social media, because we do tend to post on the when we have developed a new partnership or when we've got new projects coming up. We are currently offering 2 community-based opportunities, so not digital. One is with our partnership with Women's Aid, so that's only open to female volunteers, and that is helping keep their grounds of the different properties that they have, where they support their beneficiaries, looking at keeping the grounds pretty, so planting up pots and cutting things back, and that's a small group of women that do that together. And then we have another opportunity which is called Environmental Champions. That's a outdoor opportunity, some indoor stuff as well. So some will be digital, and then some will be outdoor. And that's looking at sustainability, recycling, litter picks, leaf collecting, all different sorts of things within that. So there's opportunities there to kind of do stuff digitally or do stuff out in the community if people feel like, I'd like to go out and actually get out of the house. Those projects are heavily risk assessed, and there's different ways that they work, but they all will be abiding by the COVID restrictions and risk assessments that we put in place. That's all from me. I do believe there's going to be somewhere that you can digitally ask me questions after you've watched this, and I can answer them. So please feel free to do that. It will probably, the information about that's probably on Eventbrite or on the posters. If not, feel free to get in touch with me or drop me an email. My email address is on the SVC website, but it's a.earls, which is EARLS, @svcymru.org. Thank you, everyone, and I hope you enjoyed that talk. Take care. Bye.
Thank you, Ad, for that. I'll stop sharing my screen. Yep. If there's any questions, please let me know. And sort of all the projects that Ad was talking about can be found on the SVC website. Or if you're watching this via Flipgrid, I'll make sure to post those links on the Flipgrid topics. We've got one final talk this afternoon, and that's from Benjamin Morris, who is an occupational therapist at Swansea University Health Board. If there's no questions from the chat, I'll sort of end this video here. Thank you from the audience for that. So one more chat, and then we will try and get all the videos from this week on Flipgrid, and I'll make sure to sort of, if you signed up through Eventbrite, I'll make sure to sort of send everyone that link, but we'll also be posting on our social media after the week is over, when all the videos are up. So thank you, and hope to see you soon. Goodbye.